roll call vote so that we don't get in trouble.
John, how would you like to vote?
Yes.
Sharon?
Yes.
And I will also vote yes. Okay. So we approve the minutes. Great.
Sharon,
One item down.
Today,
Oh, Sharon,
I'm due for it today, so I'm busily taking notes.
Great, thank you.
okay, so the only other agenda item was to discuss the agreement and next steps, and wonderful news that Don and Colonial Power Group have agreed on the agreement, and everybody should have received that. I don't know. I just was looking at the scopes of services and deliverables, so that was interesting. So what would you guys like to do? We could, I don't know. Well, I guess we're done. Yes.
It would be helpful, just for my own edification, if I could understand a little bit more about what the read the scope of services at the 50,000 foot level. I understand, but in a more detailed, assuming everything goes forward and the town does become a community choice town, and we've got people signed up, and we're in ongoing. It's an ongoing thing. What exactly does what are the services provided at that point?
Dawn, I'll take the first crack at this. I'm going to let Denise run through what we're going to do. So once aggregated, our hope is that the town simply manages Colonial in the sense we're going to bring you what you're looking for. We know what to ask you once we get to the point about, what are you looking for a products, term, all of those things. It's just only going to require this group to be advisory. Meaning, yep, we like to go out to market. Don, I believe you'd be the ultimate signatory on that contract. And then we would do all of the worker bee stuff. We would just look to you for directions itself. It wouldn't take much more than a few hours of your time. There are a couple of different points that are going to require the town's what I'll call advisory. At this point, the town Denise will deliver some documents, one of them being the ag plan, right? And then we'll go back we'll have a quick meeting with the DOER at the DPU. There'll be some questions that Colonial will answer, Don. You'd review them. If you had any problem with them, we've been answering these questions for about 15 or 20 years. Really just perfunctory type questions. We get them all the time. Some of them may seem a little bit of a stretch for the department. We'll answer them all with our attorney. We'll give them back to you, your review, say, yeah, everything's fine. We'll submit. After that, we do expect you to get an order. I think we might be 82-0 right now, so we do expect you to become an aggregated community. We've never had one not become one. So from that standpoint, once the process begins, we will get you an order, an approved order. And then it's going to really be about what the town is looking for from an energy perspective. Are they looking to stabilize rates? Are they looking to green up the load? And if they're looking to green up the load, how are they looking to green up that load? So there's lots of different things that we can do, but it shouldn't require any adds to staff, any of those kind of things on your side, other than, a couple of, we're going to be reviewing indicative pricing. Might take us 30 minutes or a half an hour. Then we're going to have final pricing. And, John has been through it numerous times. I don't want to say, Don, maybe 10. So he actually knows what he's looking at, so forth. We're happy to do all of that. And then if there's, I'm going to say, once we signed a contract, we'd expect the town to say, Mark, Colonial, we need you to have these information sessions. It might be, well, given today, it might be a Zoom meeting, or it could be an in-person meeting at the Council on Aging or at night. It just depends on how you get your best. And we don't try to tell you, Don, we listen to you. You know what people come out for. We're happy to be there. If it's in the afternoon or it's after work or it's in the morning for, a coffee for the elderly crew, we just want to make sure that everyone gets their questions answered. So I hope that answers your question. That wasn't detailed, just so you know. Denise is going to kind of walk through the details with you next. Kind of, this is what we're going to do, and this is kind of the time frame.
No,
Can Sharon, can you mute your mic? I think you're getting wind feedback, and I don't know if anybody else is hearing it, but I keep getting.
Okay. Oop. Okay, just have to,
so, thank you for that, Mark. And I think I got a pretty good handle on that. I think, let me put the question a different way. We've been in aggregation choice community for a year.
Excuse me, Don. Excuse me, Sharon, the mute didn't work. Can you just try again?
okay. It looked like it worked. Excuse me. I can't scroll the screen.
Okay.
Well, if Jenny's online, Jenny, could you help?
There we go.
Oh,
Now
no.
it says,
Oh, there we go. Okay, good. Thanks.
So, so we've been a choice community for a year, and we've got, I don't know, 90% of the population is on board, 10% have opted out, and we're rolling along, for lack of a better term, business as usual. At that point, what are the services that you're providing us?
So as far as going forward and those kind of things, just watching the marketplace, we may come to you. Let's just say your first contract, Don, was, I'm just going to say a 24-month contract.
Mhm.
I'm just making something up here. It was a 2-year contract. We might come to you and say 6 months in, hey, in 2024 at that time, the curve is down. We think you should now sign. And we would actually enter the marketplace and take you back out to the marketplace. We're in the marketplace every day, all day, to make sure that our aggregations are getting the best possible price out there, as well as there are lots of things that are coming down the pike, kind of exciting things. So I don't know if you've been following the SMART program at all, but Colonial worked with the DOER. We believe we can deliver to the low-income customers some very substantial savings through the SMART program. That's additionality and a lower price. And those are the kind of things that we hope to be bringing you more often. Now, as aggregation kind of takes the next step, Dawn, it's starting to mature. So some of these direct, investment opportunities are going to present themselves. And that's where Colonial sees the marketplace. And that's why we're out there all day, every day.
Mm-hmm.
Experts in the market.
Okay.
Mark, can I also add to that?
Yep. Yes.
From a program maintenance standpoint, in terms of managing enrollments and opt-in and opt-outs from the resident side. So once the program is up and running, folks are going to be opting in and opting out as they know about the program, or depending on what the basic service rate is and how much savings there are to be recognized, or if folks decide they want a little more renewable energy. So from a retail services side, we work with the supplier and the utility to make sure all those enrollments and drops go through seamlessly and nothing gets hung up in a rejection mode. There's a lot of kind of DPU reporting. There's an annual DPU report that's pretty extensive that we're going to file on the town's behalf. There's also quarterly reporting that we provide to the town with enrollment statistics and overall savings. So that's something that we would deliver quarterly. And as the DPU, as aggregation matures, the DPU, there's requirements are coming out more and more frequently in orders about what the DPU needs and what they need consultants to keep up with. So kind of it's an ever-changing environment that kind of grows really by each DPU order that's issued. So we would kind of take care of all that on the town's behalf.
Okay, thank you, Denise. You anticipated my next question.
Okay.
Don, you will get from time to time someone who comes in or calls and says, hey, I've just realized I got this aggregation and I want to make this change, or they got a bright idea. You know how citizens always got bright ideas. You simply give them 1-800-COLONIAL or whatever it is, and you say, call those folks and they can talk them through whatever their issue is.
Okay.
So it gets it off your plate. and gets it off Jenny's plate right away. And so it's kind of like when someone calls you about electricity, or anything like that, you simply say, here's the number, you call them. So it gets it off your plate, and you don't have to become an expert in this because you've hired them to answer those questions. And I found them always, to be very good about that. No one, I think I had told you before, no one ever got back to me. Every time we gave out Colonial's number, no one ever, I think, called our office to say, I wasn't satisfied, or, I need additional assistance. It was always, handled.
No, that's great to hear. And absolutely, because it's inevitable that Jenny or I, or both of us, will get some calls.
Yep.
So to be able to just redirect them on the Colonial is music to our ears.
And Don, we would request that you do, because those are the calls we've been taking for 15 years. It's really what we do. So please don't, waste time and effort answering those. We have the answers. We're more than happy to answer those questions. So feel free. Just as John said, that's what you hired us to do. So we expect to do it and do it well.
No, and I'm sure. I mean, John's spoken very highly of you. So, so from today being July 21st, 2020, what would your envisioned timeline be for the town to, assuming everything goes forward? What would your timeline be as far as having the town aggregated, if I can use that as a verb?
I'm gonna let Denise handle this. Otherwise, she'll just correct me the whole way through. So Denise, I'm gonna give it to you.
I was hoping you were eloquently going to say something about the DPUs.
Lack of attentiveness.
Quick turnaround time. I'm being sarcastic. So, from a local standpoint, we can locally get through this in about a month, simply because there's a 3-week you have to hang the aggregation plan and supporting documentation for about 3 weeks and then vote to approve that documentation. So that's about a month-long process. We go on to the DOER for a quick consultation over the telephone. That's get it scheduled and get it taken care of. That's probably another couple weeks. Then we pull together a filing and we file with the DPU. So hopefully we can get filed with the DPU, 8 weeks tops. Then we kind of go into the black hole that is the DPU, unfortunately. And, Colonial, we have no control over the DPU. I'm going to be honest, it used to be a 3 to 6 month approval process at the DPU. Currently, there are towns in there as far back as January 2019 who are still waiting for an order. There's about, I want to say, 10 to 12 towns in there right now waiting for an order. One of them is the city of Boston, so that's a big one. Hopefully, once they start clocking through those, I think COVID has slowed them down a bit because all the DPU hearing officers are working from home. Hopefully they can start cranking through those quicker. We truly don't understand why it takes so long. There's 140 communities that are already aggregated. It's the same kind of DPU order all the time, but hopefully that speeds up and we can get back down to 6 months or so. But really, we're kind of at the mercy of the DPU. So I want to just prepare you for the potential 12 months, and hopefully we can get something quicker.
And then at what point in the process do we go back to town meeting for a final approval from the town?
You do not need to go back to town meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yep, town meeting once, and then, like I said, you're going to post the aggregation plan and supporting documentation. The Board of Selectmen is going to vote to approve the aggregation plan, and then you're truly done at the local level, unless the committee wants to do some work with surveys or trying to find out what kind of products or renewable content the community is looking for, but nothing from an approval standpoint required beyond that point.
It was unclear to me if the selectmen had final sign off or if we needed to go back to town meeting again. So thank you for that.
Yep, you're welcome.
So
Don,
it,
I'm sorry.
oh, so we would probably be going to the selectmen in about a month then, because that's the last step of the aggregation plan.
Yeah, I would say 4 to 6 weeks, right? So yeah, you want to post it first and get any public comments or that sort of thing, because that will all need to get filed with the DPU, and then the board can review the plan and vote to approve after that.
Okay.
So will Colonial conduct a public hearing then or a public meeting for people to weigh in on with comments?
We can, it isn't required. The Board of Selectmen meeting is a public meeting, so as long as it's on the agenda, if anyone had any questions at the time, they could certainly be at that Board of Selectmen meeting and ask questions, but we can if that's something the town wants to do. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, Don, just so you know, that is something to hold a public hearing, but believe it or not, that's one of the things that the department does, and it's not convenient at all. We're happy if you wanted to have a public, as Denise said, we've been doing this for a long time. So at the Board of Selectmen, if somebody wanted to say something at the meeting, they certainly could. But the Department of Public Utilities will hold a public meeting conveniently located in their offices at 2 o'clock in South Station. Colonial will definitely be there, make no mistake. Nobody is required to be there from the town. It lasts around 3 minutes. And that fulfills the statutory requirement of a public meeting. Just so you don't have to have two. That's the way that works. But it's not. I'm trying to think. Other than Boston, I think we've had 2 people twice show up to a public hearing.
Okay.
Don, the one complication for you potentially is the day that we're going out to bid for the electrical pricing. So electricity, and Mark, correct me. I mean, you get those prices in the morning, but you have to make a decision by the end of day. Is that still the situation?
That's still the situation. So normally a market will open up in the morning. They'll have your load profile ahead of time. Make no mistake. By 11 o'clock, we'll get them. We'll put them in that format that you're used to looking at, John. Send them over to the group so everyone can review. We'll have a call, allow you guys to meet beforehand at around 2 o'clock. We'll have a call, walk through, answer any questions. And then what I do want to say, and John has been excellent at this. I'm not interested. I'm not going to sign. It's perfectly fine. It doesn't have to happen right away. He's not comfortable for whatever reason, or the group isn't. We just go back out to bid. Doesn't mean you have to sign something that day. If you like what you see, you move on. But we do need an answer for like 3 or 3:30. The market closes. Well, I don't want to say it never truly closes, but the electricity markets here in New England close. By 4:30, they have to set their hedge. And they are buying it's a lot of electricity when you come down to it for the whole town. It just is.
So my point, Don, is that you're going to have to get authority from the Board of Selectmen to make the decision on any given day where we're doing the bid.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll put out, the bid, whether we put it out in options of 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, or whatever. Mark will go over those options, but he won't know those bids till just before noon. And then a decision needs to be made within 3 hours as to what to do.
Okay.
So the board's going to have to give you the authority to make that decision, by that time, because this is something that can't wait for the next selectmen's meeting. That's not the way that market works. Yeah. So I just wanted to clarify, that might be different from what this board's used to, on making decisions. But someone's going to make a decision for the town within a 3-hour time frame.
No, I understand. The board over the years have delegated, a lot of responsibility to me. I think it should be expressly delegated for this one. And John, it's good to have a recovering town administrator, town manager on the committee, because you understand what goes through my head.
Well, that's why I want to, point that out to you. I think that's, this board just needs to understand that they won't make the decision in the end unless they convene a meeting for 1 o'clock on that same day. This can't be held. So there is basically the 3 to 4 hour time frame to make the decision. And sometimes it's difficult making that decision, as Mark said. I think my last time out, my decision was not to, go ahead, because the rates were actually a little bit higher than what the standard rate, from Eversource was at the time. And that decision has to be made. I think the only other big decision we have to make is what are our options we're going to move forward. You know, Sharon and Lynn have been on one page all along, beating me over the head that we need to have, you know, a lot of greening and everything. I've been just saying, yeah, when it comes time, I'll listen to all options. So I think that's probably what's going to happen over this next month. I don't want, you know, I just want to be careful to say that, you know, 2 to 3 weeks is if everybody's on the same page right away, we could get this done quickly. But it all depends on what these options are, and that's what we're going to need to hear from, you know, Mark and Denise as to what are those options of plans. Back 10 years ago, there was only one option. You know, now you have the, you know, the capacity, and we never really got into choice. You know, can a community go with like 2 different plans where people can opt into, one of the other plans, whether it's more green or less green, you know, type plan. So I think we need to discuss that today, you know, at some point. And that's probably our biggest issue ahead of us is to, you know, what are we looking at for options and plans?
So to address some of that, John, the only issue I would be cautious of, and I'm happy to have the conversation, but it might be a long time between now and then. And there might be some other options on the table at that time. But the one thing I want to state is wherever you put people, the opt-out product is the one where most people will stay. Make no mistake, if the Energy Committee is looking to green things up, you're going to want to move people to a greener product and allow them to opt down. So we developed in Carlisle, they wanted to make sure that this is a kind of a Don issue again. Don, you know, from a fiduciary responsibility, they wanted to make sure people that were on a fixed income or you know, someone that might have been on a low income had the opportunity. So they made I believe it was a green product, their opt-out product. You could opt up to a greener, like 100% green, but you could also opt into a standard renewable product that beats RPS or the renewable portfolio standard. Consider it the same thing as basic service. So there were choices out there if you wanted to go up or if you wanted to go down, but it allowed the Energy Committee to move people into a little bit greener of a product than they would have otherwise received.
You make a good point, Mark, because Bolton's demographics, I don't remember the exact percentage right now, but our senior population is in excess of 20%. So we have an unusually high percentage of seniors. So we do need to bear that in mind.
And at least I just want you to know from Colonial standpoint, I'm happy to show you all the options, any amount of options. It's still really early, if you know what I'm saying. We're going to have months to discuss. And, you know, if we want to talk about it, I'm happy to do all of that. We kind of know what Denise already has, probably 6 options that we could send over to kind of show you all of these different shades of green and slices of mass class 1s and so forth. There will be an option, so you can choose, you know, 1 or 2 or even 3 if you need to options. But again, I just want you to be thinking when you put everyone somewhere, the opt-out product, that's where most people will stay. The masses will stay there. So, you know, and I know, John, you've been, you know, if they want to go green, that's fine. In the past, I'm saying that might have been the demographic, you know, whether it was in Ashland or in Burlington, but you're like, hey, if they wanted to opt up, they can go do that on their own. I'm going to get the best price I can for energy.
So when do we need to make the decision as to what type of plans? Do we need to do that, you know, in submitting the plan to DPU upfront, or is that a discussion we have after we've gotten this moving forward?
So it's after you get it. So we're going to make it so there's some aggregators, John, that would make this program prescriptive. You have to choose X or Y. But we say that's actually, I don't believe that's the best advice. And the only reason I'm saying that is when the market changes 3-5 years from now, they still have to do what their plan says, or they're going to go back through this 15-month process. We're going to do be nothing more than give you all the flexibility possible so that you can choose all of these things. But we're trying not to be prescriptive in case there's a product that we don't know about right now that you'd like to participate in. Because when you're prescriptive, the department says, well, you have to do that. And we don't feel like that's something that we should lock a town into.
So going into this process right now where, Denise was talking about having a plan ready in 6 to 8 weeks, through the selectmen's process. These decisions don't need to be made today, you're saying. So we can develop our plan without making these decisions and then have meetings after that process as we're going through all the state process and determine what type of plans we will offer after the fact.
That's correct. And Denise, if you could just help me out, it's eluding me right now, but Denise will have the actual language so that you'll see the flexibility. It will allow the plan to choose any green product you want, but it won't say, I want a 5% more mass class 1. You can choose that product, but it's not going to state that product. And that's on purpose for what we consider to be the flexibility that each town should have to say something happens in the future.
Yeah, so Truly Supply is the deregulated portion of this, right, John? So we don't even believe anything about product should be in the aggregation plan because that's truly a choice based on market and pricing when the town goes out to bid. However, the DPU has said they want language about the product in the actual aggregation plan. So we just keep it very broad. The town will offer a standard product. The town may or may not offer one optional or more than one optional product, and both those products may meet RPS or may have a higher renewable content than RPS. Very broad, very general, very flexible. So the town isn't handcuffed when they go out to bid, because the DPU process is so long. We don't know what the market looks like in 9 or 12 months when you go out, and we certainly don't want you to be stuck by a decision you made 12 months earlier, or like Mark said, a new product that's on the table. So both with the aggregation plan, and we're going to send you over an education plan for the town. We want the town to be in charge of its decisions, not the DPU's approved petition.
So I think that gives us a pretty good idea what we need to be doing today then, which is that we need to approve the plan to recommend to the selectmen, for posting, over the next couple of weeks, which doesn't have to make these final decisions. Because I think that we've always seen that as our biggest, I don't want to call it a hurdle, but the biggest decision we have to make on this program, what are our options? So then we can handle that once we get past this initial stage, so that we're not wasting time. I think, the key is we don't want to waste any time over trivial discussions. Let the big discussions happen when they need to happen. So I would say we try to move forward as quickly as possible to do the posting, to have a public hearing through the selectmen's meeting, not a separate public hearing, but have the selectmen, put this on their agenda with the documentation that Colonial will provide to us, and move forward. And then we can work with Denise and Mark with the options of what are the options for us. And then we can discuss, those plans in another meeting. But in the meantime, everything else is moving forward.
So Denise, do you have the standard plan? Were you going to be presenting that today?
I'm working on it this week. I should have it
Okay.
finished by the end of the week, and I can certainly send that over to you. And if you want to if the group wants to take, a week or so to review it internally and ask any questions, we can certainly do that. And then you can post it once you're comfortable with what's there. But the DPU, little changes at the DPU lately. Before, you just had to post the aggregation plan. Now they're asking that you post the aggregation plan, what's called an education and outreach plan, as well as the draft consumer notification. That's the opt-out mailing that will ultimately go to every basic service consumer who's being switched. So they want all three of those documents kind of posted. The consumer opt-out notice is prescriptive by the DPU. The language on that notice is driven by the DPU. Not a lot of flexibility there. But they just want, the whole packet posted for residents to be able to review. So I should be able to get that all over to you by the end of the week, and you can take a look at it and let me know if you have any questions. You'll see that the aggregation plan is, like we just said, it's mainly addresses all the items in the statutory requirements of aggregation for the town to become an aggregator. The education plan, very general, public meetings, information sessions, translations available for those who don't speak English. But again, trying to keep it very general so that once we get to the point where the town is rolling out the program, the town can then decide how best to educate the residents. But you'll see all that when I shoot it over. I should have it over to you by the end of day on Friday, if not sooner.
Okay, so it sounds like we might need to have another meeting next week to review that together.
We can, you can, that's fine. And if you decide you don't need one after reading it, if you want to put one out there, and then if you see it and you're like, nope, this makes sense, then that's fine too.
Well, I think the committee needs to vote on it.
Yeah,
So we have to have a formal meeting. I don't know, Don, if you want to be part of that also.
I may like to be, it could be very helpful to me. I'm only in the office next Monday and Tuesday next week.
So maybe we can shoot for Tuesday next week to review it. 3 p.m. again?
I'm pretty sure I'm free. I'll just double check.
Okay. So if we can get the document, if you send it to me on Friday, Denise, I'll send it out to everyone in the committee and we can review that.
Yeah, and I'll shoot to get it to you maybe a day before that. I'm working on it. It should be done before that, Lynn. So I'll get it out to you as soon as I can.
Great.
Listen, I can do that, Lynn.
Can we do
Okay.
3:30? That would be better for me next week, 3:30.
I'm fine with that.
Also works for me.
Great.
I
So-
can,
Oh, Don, what would be, what's your selectman schedule, at this point?
I knew you were going to ask that, John. Hang on.
I
Did
know
they-
some of scheduling might,
I have that handy right here. So
But they, okay.
we are on our summer schedule. So right now, the next regularly scheduled selectmen's meeting is August 20th, Thursday, August. And then the one following that is Thursday, September 10th.
But they don't need to, we would actually post this prior to the meeting. Would there be any reason for them to review it prior to the posting?
I don't think so.
Okay.
So
So-
the issue though is Denise clarified, we need to post 3 weeks prior to? Is that what
Correct. Yep,
So-
15 business.
So if we can get this approved, next, I'm just wondering if August 20th is doable. So if we're meeting August 4th, we can't really, I think we have to look at September 10th for.
I think that's fine. Yes.
Okay.
So August 20th doesn't work because we almost need to approve a plan today to make it work for August 20th.
August 20th is surprisingly is shaping up as possibly a busy agenda. So September 10th is probably better for the selectmen too. That's a guess, but I think I'm right.
So why don't we look at September 10th as a realistic date, to make, and then Denise can, work, with you, Jenny, and us as to what we need to be doing for the proper postings to meet DPU requirements.
Well, Denise and Mark are going to be at the meeting next week then as well?
I will.
Okay.
We
So
had
we
our
can,
meeting, yes.
so we can go over
Yep.
the posting requirements then and what we need to do.
I'm sure Denise will have her calendar set up for us as to what we need to be doing between next Tuesday and September 10th to make it work.
Yep, I'll send you over all of that information.
All right, Denise, don't let Mark screw anything up. You please, and so that we know it'll get done right.
Mark, I didn't say that.
I know, I do. John's marked all the time. I know. I get it.
Okay, so is there anything else to discuss today?
I
If
have
there are no further questions, we're good.
Yeah, we're good.
So are we. It's a pleasure working with you, really is.
We look forward to it.
Everything's all set, Don, between you and Colonial on the paperwork and everything, so we're all signed off at this point.
Yeah.
And so they're our broker and we're moving forward, so it sounds like we're on a path then.
I think we are.
All right, these two ladies have been beating me up every meeting, but I think we're on a roll.
Go green, go green. Yeah.
yes.
All right. So we'll talk next Tuesday at 3:30 then.